The tough economic environment, characterized by the high cost of living, higher interest rates and elevated levels of unemployment, has seen households under pressure to make ends meet. Attempts to cut costs by households have at times meant letting go of domestic helpers. Data from Statistics South Africa shows private households shed 30,000 jobs in the second quarter compared to the same time last year. Organizations representing domestic workers say some workers have been let go without prior notice or a severance package. Some had their hours cut, meaning less income for them. The United Domestic Workers of South Africa says while some employers do struggle to pay the national minimum wage, some simply refuse to abide by the law.
There are employers who are paying their domestic workers fairly, others the national minimum wage, others are even paying beyond the national minimum wage, which we appreciate a lot. We also know that there are employers who cannot afford to pay domestic workers. There are those who cannot afford it. And domestic workers themselves will say that she's divorced, she's struggling, or she has sold her car. They can see the situation that their employers are struggling as well. But there are also employers who are exploiting the situation and pretend as if they cannot afford to pay domestic workers the national minimum wages. They will pay underpaid domestic workers. They can afford to buy their dogs expensive food, but domestic worker will be the last to be paid with the change that is left in the house.
The organization says households that cannot afford the basic minimum wage should rather reduce the hours worked by domestic workers so that they can have time to do other jobs to boost their incomes. The high prices of basic foodstuffs mean low-income earners are the hardest hit in trying to make ends meet. Easy Domestic Workers Alliance says this sector is highly impacted by economic trends, with households quick to retrench or cut down hours worked by domestic workers when they encounter shocks. And with the low wages that domestic workers earn, it's hard for them to save for rainy days, leaving them with no cushioning when they encounter difficulties.
The industry and the service that is provided by domestic workers are very entrenched in South African society. And so as soon as things pick up again, people try to hire someone. But it is very disruptive for workers themselves when those waves happen, because then in the meantime, they've lost their jobs and they're not earning enough to save any money. So there's no cushion. And for the most part, when people dismiss their domestic worker, they don't go through the legal process. And so they just say, don't come back tomorrow. And so there's no payout, there's no warning, there's no notice period, etc.
Rebecca Kutumela is 59 years old and has been a domestic worker for different families for about 16 years. She has taken her previous employer to the CCMA and her case will be heard at the beginning of next month. Kutumela was fired from her job after falling ill and was booked off work by her doctor. When she told her employer that she would not be able to report for duty, she was told not to return to work.
Monday, I feel dizzy. I can't manage to go to the taxi rank, whatever. What if happen, I'm falling. So I decided to call her to make a message. Or I'm sick, I can't make it, I'm weak, whatever. The answer, it said, you must not come back. You must not come back. But I didn't take seriously. Then I go to the doctor Monday. And the doctor wanted to book me until the 6th. So I told the doctor that my employer is very rude, is greedy, and then they want me to come and work. So I can't take until the 6th. I rest only Tuesday. Wednesday I go back to work. Then they said, you didn't hear, I said, you didn't come here. I said, I thought you were joking. I thought you were joking.
The organizations representing domestic workers say only about 3% of domestic workers are members of unions. This makes them easily isolated at their workplace and leaves them more vulnerable, making it difficult to fight for their rights. Gloria Sefako Mosi, SABC News, Johannesburg.